So today, Wall Street is welcoming a new kid to the block and giving the world's youngest investors access to an exchange-traded fund that's tailored specifically to their values. It's called Gen-Z ETF, and it tracks companies deemed most relevant to investors born between 1997 and the early 2000s. Alkali Fintech is the parent company, and the ETF just started trading today on the Nasdaq. There's a look at two of the co-founders who helped launch it and also co-founded the fund. And I'm really fortunate to have them here in studio with me, Alkali co-founder Julian Feder and also co-founder Eitan Prins-Trachtenberg. Congratulations, you guys. This is a pretty big day for you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, Jennifer. We're really excited to be here on Quick Talks. I mean, it's a big day. We just launched the Generation Z ETF, which is the first investment product specifically for Generation Z. It's comprised of the 50 companies that we think are most relevant to our generation. And our mission with launching ZGen is really to provide an investment for our generation that they can relate with, that's future focused and diversified.
Well, and I want to talk about that. I mean, first of all, how did you guys decide on an ETF? I mean, why approach it this way and get Gen Z involved in the markets with an ETF? Eitan, maybe you start?
Yeah, that's a really good question, by the way. I think that we've seen a massive uptick in the interest in investing in general from Generation Z in recent years. And one problem with that, though, is that the things that Gen Z is becoming interested in are very volatile assets. Like, meme coins come to the top of mind, but there's also like penny stocks and altcoins that Gen Z likes trading. And those can be very volatile and can end up losing a lot of money. So we wanted to kind of make a product, an investment product that, would align with Generation Z, but would also be, more long-term focused, more future focused. So it would help Gen Z kind of invest for the long term instead of prioritizing short-term gains. We thought an ETF was the best way to do that.
Well, and talk about what that long-term strategy looks like and how you are basing the companies that you're investing in on. Julian?
Yeah, sure. So, we're really trying to focus on like Generation Z's kind of like rise to prominence. So if you look at Generation Z, right, we're the largest generation with 2.5 billion members. In less than a decade, we're gonna have $40 trillion in annual income. So we think it's really pressing to provide an investment that's very future focused, and that's so that's kind of the reason why we're doing it. And then I think in terms of like how we score companies and sort of the methodology behind it is, one of our goals was how do we determine, what's most relevant to Generation Z. So we did that based on, how does Generation find the most use and utility out of this company? Does Generation Z's values align with, the company? Is it innovative and is it disruptive? So using those four metrics, we think we capture which companies are most relevant to us.
Well, and can you talk about the portfolio, guys? Because you have a few companies in it. We mentioned companies need to have been founded 1997 and earlier, right?
Or later.
Later, yeah.
Yeah, so as you can imagine, as Julian just said, the portfolio really targets Generation Z, and it's the 50 stocks that we believe most align with Generation Z. So as you can imagine, there are some sectors and industries there that are extremely future focused. For example, we have metaverse and blockchain technologies, digitization, sustainable technology, and democratized education. So really industries that both align with Generation Z and are very future focused.
Well, and Roblox is also a pretty big one for your portfolio, right?
Yeah.
What about other big tech companies? I mean, don't you think you're missing out on some of the big cap companies focusing in on this? I mean, why choose to really narrow it down?
No, we really feel that, by doing the 1997 cutoff point, we really feel that we're capturing the companies that are most relevant to Generation Z, and also on top of that, we feel like one of our big things is that our trading hypothesis, is that by investing in the companies that are most relevant to Generation Z, those will be the companies that experience the most future growth. So we really feel like by investing in newer companies, younger companies, they'll be the ones that experience the most growth from Generation Z, from the rise of Generation Z.
How do you prove it, though? Are these companies transparent with you? How is that criteria? How is that conversation going with them? I know you're early on in this, but yeah.
Sorry, do you mean with the companies that are in the portfolio?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we use a mixture of qualitative and quantitative assessments when determining what companies should be in the portfolio. And Julian mentioned the scoring methodology that we go through in determining the companies. And, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I think that our investment hypothesis will hold up. And I think that, it is projected that Generation Z will be the most economically influential generation of all time in less than a decade, and we see that rise to prominence as an opportunity for us.
And how did you guys, I mean, you're both seniors in high school, starting an ETF. Julian, you started investing when you were 13, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So I was an actor, and And I was taking the money that I made from acting and started investing it. And it was really to do this. It was really to do a project like this someday that, really had some meaning to it. And so, I think what our hope is, we really want to start educating Generation Z to start investing at a younger age. And like, I think one of the things is you look back at older generations, right? Like, they didn't start investing until they were 30, 40, 50 years old. We really want to encourage Generation Z to start investing today. I mean, it could be really remarkable if our generation starts investing like a decade or more, prior to the rest of the generations. Our financial security could, be pretty, extreme. It could be great.
Well, what is the conversation like for you guys with your friends? I mean, are they interested in this? I mean, clearly they might be interested because you guys are launching this, but is there a true interest that you see sustaining for your generation in an ETF?
The short answer is yes. I mean, we believe that there is a massive interest in investing among Generation Z that will only continue to rise in coming years. And we think that by both providing a aligned portfolio and, as Julian just said, education to Generation Z that also aligns with their values, we can even increase that already big interest in investing.
How is it going to work on social media?
So we plan on producing lots of like educational content, but I mean, really the thing is like we want to produce relatable educational content. We think we're in a unique position to do that as members of Generation Z and, and who have started an ETF. So we think, we're really excited to start producing that content, and we already have.
And how are you guys doing that with school? I mean, it's a pretty big lift, right? I mean, as you mentioned, previous generations didn't start investing and really focusing on this until their 30s. I mean, how do you do it? And how do you convince your peers that this is something that you need to prioritize?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I think I need to mention that it's not just us, right? We have a great team behind us. We have advisory board members. We really have a strong support team that can help us, and we dedicate a lot of time to the ETF. Simply said, but the second part of your question was how can we convince members of Generation Z to invest? And I think again it's going to be about the education aspect as well as kind of prioritizing Generation Z's needs above the rest. And I think we're very well positioned to do that as members of Generation Z.
And what's been some of the hurdles though to getting to this point? Because you guys, you said you met a year ago, right? What's been the lead up to this, and sort of what do the next few months look like? I mean, you mentioned the education aspect of it. What else?
Yeah, so that's I mean, the hurdles to getting it started was obviously, convincing people, that this was something that, should be taken seriously and is real. And I think that, people have really related to both the investment hypothesis and also another point that we felt people really connect with. It's like, not only, is it pressing for Generation Z to have, a portfolio as they build wealth, but also I think for older generations, they can also kind of connect with this because, if you have an investment for your kid or you want to put a little bit of money, down for your kid, this is a great way to an investment that's already there that, your kid can be proud that you made because it aligns with their values.
But how do you talk to your peers too about, the inevitable risk and volatility that comes with it, right? It's something that people are paying very much attention to. What is that conversation like? How do you talk to your peers about that?
Yeah,
and not have them stress out, right?
Right. I mean,
it's their money.
Right. I mean, any investment product will involve some risk, and what we've seen in the past 100 years is that over time markets appreciate, and while we can't guarantee any performance, the general consensus is that investing is better than just keeping your money in a bank account or putting it under the mattress. That's something that actually not a lot of people realize. There's not a lot of people who are investing because they think that keeping it in the bank will help keep it more secure, which is a valid thought. But what we're trying to do with this ETF is to kind of showcase that to members of Generation Z that investing is the way to go, especially long-term investing.
Do you talk to them too about the taxes that could potentially come from it? Is that part of the education aspect?
Yes, it will be. Yeah. We plan on. We really want to cover all different aspects of investing and really make it easy to understand, but also very informative.
And how do you know if you guys have succeeded in doing this? You have the companies that you launched with today. You started trading at $25, but when will you know this is actually sort of going the way that you want it to go? Is it through social media? Is it through conversations with your friends? I'm curious. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I think that our goal, as Julian said, is to really get members of our generation investing earlier. So if we see kind of a consensus among Generation Z that investing earlier is something that they are interested in, we know that we've succeeded. If we see that Generation Z is investing at earlier ages than previous generations, we know we've succeeded, and that's really our main goal with the ETF.
Are you communicating too with Gen Z? I mean, you said social, it's a big aspect of it. Are you hearing from them? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, like, you know, we since we did just launch, we're really trying to build out our social presence. And one of the things that we're really eager to do is really to try and bring Generation Z into the ETF, because I mean, like, you know, we want to get as many voices and views as possible, all contributing, you know, to what the companies, you know, are in the portfolio.
And how do you guys balance this with school? I mean, I have to ask.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, you know, we have a really strong support team behind us. You know. We're really grateful for that as well. And it's a lot of work, and we put it in, and you know, this is something that we're super passionate about and we're really dedicated to. Yeah.
And I wonder too, I mean, just finally, how do you think this is going to change the future investor? I mean, it's obviously the pandemic has really changed the way people think about holding their money, but what do you guys see for your generation as the future investment, where they're going to put their money and what it's going to look like?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. You know, we really want to encourage our generation to have a diversified portfolio. So, you know, if you want to have some in crypto, that's amazing. You should do that. And then also, I think making sure though that you balance that out with companies and equities, and just making sure you have a future focused product that you can relate with. And I think that's really what it comes down to. It's really making sure that our generation, you know, can find a product that they relate with. Because if you look at the U.S. financial markets, right, it's huge. It's over $110 trillion, and right now there are no, you know, diversified future-focused investments for our generation, and we hope to really fill that gap and provide that for our generation.
And short term, what's your hope for the next few weeks? Are you guys it's holiday, I know your semester's over, but what's your hope?
You know, I think my personal hope is that, you know, we see a lot of buzz with the ETF. People are interested in what we're doing. They like what we're doing. We want members of Generation Z to get more interested in investing even in the short term. And yeah, I think we just want something that we can grow from.
All right, guys. Julian, want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to say, if we can spread the whole movement, you know, our movement that we're trying to create of just increasing Generation Z's interest in investing, I think that'll be, you know, that's really what our goal is.
Yeah.
And I think the key will be having investors on board and supporting you guys as well in that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah,
It's a big day for you. Julian Feder and also Eitan Prins-Trachtenberg. Thank you both so much of Gen Z ETF. Guys, thanks. And I'm Jennifer Zabasajit in New York. Thanks for watching.